Hey, what's up, everybody? On today's episode of the podcast, we're going to be talking about nihilism here. Um, my name is Justin. We also have Eddie here,
Hello.
and we also have Dryden here.
Hey, what's up?
Not much, boys. I think today we have a more open-ended conversation to be had. It's kind of a topic that you can't really look up statistics for, like alcohol or you can't really see so much as in our other video on Instagram slash TikTok slash Snapchat, YouTube, short clips. It's nihilism, the rejection of all religious and moral principles in the belief that life is meaningless. So I think in this episode, we're going to talk about that, the idea behind it, a little bit, potentially the history of where it comes from, and what it really means, any anecdotal stories that we can possibly come up with. Touch base on those. Myself, actually, I used to be very nihilistic in life. So it's something that I could relate to, or at least I used to be able to relate to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I know that, Eddie, you have um, a paragraph from an essay on nihilism. You still have that open if you want. Give that a little
Sure.
read through.
Yeah. So this was a post on aeon.co on nihilism. So the heading is the risk of nihilism is that it alienates us from anything good or true, yet believing in nothing has positive potential. This is by Nolan Gertz. And in his essay, it starts off in the first paragraph. So it says, nihilism is a constant threat, as the 20th century philosopher Hannah Arendt recognized. It is best understood as not as a set of quote dangerous thoughts, but as a risk, but as a risk inherent in the very act of thinking. If we reflect on any specific idea long enough, no matter how strong it seems at first or how widely accepted, we'll start to doubt its truth. We might also begin to doubt whether those who accept the idea really know or care about whether or not the idea is true. This is one step away from thinking about why there is so little consensus about so many issues and why everyone else seems to be so certain about what now appears to you so uncertain. At this point, on the brink of nihilism, there's a choice. Either keep thinking and risk alienating yourself from society, or stop thinking and risk alienating yourself from reality. And
God
that,
damn.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah. The last few sentences kind of speak volumes to its, like, you know what I mean? I mean, the essay goes on for a while, but I mean, just in that first paragraph, it's just kind of the last few sentences of that first paragraph. It really says a lot.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
definitely.
man.
I think that it's very like it's a very, how do I say this? It's so leveled in its meaning, or sorry, there's so much levels to the meaning. Sorry, of nihilism. As much as it sounds like very simple and straightforward, nothing matters.
Hmm.
Life has no meaning. Um, I don't believe in anything. I don't. My morals. What are moral? What's the point of morals? What's the point of religious belief?
Yeah.
Anything like that. It's a very, um, like I said, multi-level thing. I think for me, when I was very much in that mindset of nothing matters, nothing I will do will ever matter to anybody. For me, it was coming from a place more of self-hate and meaningless. Like I had no direction. Basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Hmm.
And I'm very curious if that's kind of the idea behind, or sorry, the driving force behind people with this kind of mindset. Because to me, I don't. Since not being so nihilistic or at all, actually, to me, like everything, I might be. It's literally the flip side, and I probably should get to a nice medium or middle feel about it. But um, I'm curious if people that are in that mindset are depressed, or if they're sad, or if they have no direction, or if they even want one. I don't know
Hmm.
about you guys, but that's what it was like for me when I was in that kind of stage. I remember touching on a previous episode about, I think when we were talking about alcohol.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I, it's funny you say that because I mean, I had that same mindset. Like I hated myself, and I actually had that whole mindset of like, nothing matters. Like, what's the
Mhm.
point of anything? So, my freshman year of high school, I it was one of the worst years of my life. Like I was alone like a lot. I was constantly paranoid that people were talking about me behind my back, and um, there was like this narrative coming grade from grade six through grade 6 through 8. Middle school, that everyone thought that I had mental problems or that I was crazy. I mean, some people made jokes that I was going to shoot up the school, which was obviously is a fucked up joke, right? When in
Yeah,
reality,
definitely.
when in reality, all I wanted to do was just try and make people laugh and make friends. But I was so awkward and I had no idea how to do that, that people just alienated me and just thought that I was, oh, here's Eddie, here's the weird kid. That
Mhm.
that goes into freshman year of high school, and I already knew what was happening, what was going to happen. I already had that label on my head, like, oh, he like I was the weird one. Uh,
Mhm.
and that made me, I guess, that made in that depression, it made me develop this sense of nihilism. It's like what's the point of doing all this? I'm uh, like there's no point in passing or failing. Like that's all
Mhm.
meaningless. I started questioning stuff like religion as well. Like, oh, like religion's so stupid. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I'm gonna die alone anyway. This is ridiculous. Like, what's the point in everything? I was literally so miserable to the point where I became not like a not like a crazy nihilistic, but I became nihilistic in that sense.
Yeah,
It's it, uh, it but that concept really makes you think, though. I mean, it's 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 weird how some people kind of, I don't know if you're not necessarily born with it, but I guess through certain circumstances you develop this sense of nihilism, and I guess that's how it happened for me.
definitely. Well, yeah, because I mean, especially at younger ages, if and again, I saying what I'm about to say. I don't know how anything should work for everybody, but if someone is brought up, it could be correctly or incorrectly, or things could happen at a young age, and if there's a bit of a speed bump, I'll say that if there's a little bit of a speed bump in developing social skills, if there's like doubts from any kind of situation, and it's not dealt with properly, or if it doesn't know how to be dealt with properly, kids could be just as terrible as adults when it comes to shit.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
yeah, and but like, and uh, I guess as an adult, you kind of give kids a pass in a sense because you know what kids don't know shit. Like, in the grand scheme of things, like an 8-year old doesn't know the repercussions of saying anything too bad. I
No.
think, right? So,
Yeah.
and that's the thing where it goes both ways. If you don't know how to deal with certain things at a young age that maybe you shouldn't even have to be dealing with, and that course just keeps going, or sorry, not, well, if you keep on that course, I should say, and that just keeps going into an older age, these kinds of habits, when it comes to nihilistic slash depressed slash anger towards the world,
I,
if you combine them all, it's very dangerous.
I actually have a question in that regard.
Yeah,
So, like, do you think that nihilism and depression go hand in hand, or are they two separate things? Because what
I
if you're,
think that
because like, what if you're depressed, but you're not nihilistic? Like, you think the world, like, there is some meaning to the world, but you're too depressed to, I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah,
no,
yeah, my original question. Just,
dude, I totally get what you mean because like I'm going through like therapy essentially for not for nihilism, but like in for the depression side of what you just said. Because
yeah.
like I hate the world, but like I don't hate the world. I just kind of hate how I am towards the world, and like that's just the depressive mental state that I've had throughout years of growing up, like as a kid. So like
Mm,
just coming to terms, like realizing it as a depressive state, because I feel it goes hand in hand. Because like you're gonna hate yourself, you're gonna hate the world. You're not gonna be like, I love this rose when you're depressed. You're gonna be like, fuck this rose.
right.
So like I do think they go hand in hand, like one and the other's basically interchangeable within the same. Yeah,
Well, and that's kind of what I was thinking as well, because like you kind of said, like you're gonna if you're gonna feel depressed, you're not gonna give a fuck about like certain things or almost anything. So that they kind of feed off each other, like you were saying. They're interchangeable. Where if you're if you're always well, then I'm kind of having a bunch of thoughts at the same time, so I'm gonna stutter a little bit. But at the same time, I feel like um, if you have no aim and you have no direction and you don't even know how to form the thought to get to those places, right? Like oh, I want to get better. If that's not a thought, then literally nothing would matter. So I think when it comes to depression and nihilism, they work off each other like imperfectly in a very imperfect way. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things because like as I've gotten better again, like I mentioned, I was very much nihilistic. I remember there was a situation that I was in. Um, I remember my aunt. She came and picked me up, and she was bringing me home one time, and I don't see her too often. And she asked me the question of like, "Oh, how you doing?" And then we kind of just got into talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
My uncle and her two kids are in the back seat, and I remember I brought that up, and I was like, "I'm very nihilistic." She's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I don't think anything matters. That's
Mm.
why I'm not getting my life together. What? Like, why? Nothing matters. I'm not going to be alive in 100 years. So why? What's the point in trying right now?" And I remember as I was after that happened, and then things happened, and I slowly started to turn my life around.
Mm-hmm.
That's one memory that I have where I was like, I just remember looking back, and I still do to this day, where I'm like, I could not have been more ignorant in a situation in my entire life. So
Mm-hmm.
when I say, like, when I was sitting there the way I was feeling, and I say nothing matters, I didn't take into consideration the fact that she's sitting in the car with her nephew, her husband, and her two kids, and everything in that car meant everything to her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a very, I find that it's very, it plays off each other with that depressive state of mind because, or maybe depression might not be the only thing you could put into that. There could be resentment, there could be anger, there could be, so many things that go
Self
into.
doubt and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like to give a long form answer to your question is yeah, I think those two things just work out or work together so perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
It's
which
funny.
is very dangerous.
It, it,
Very
extremely.
dangerous.
it's funny because I just pulled up a page on Quora. I know it's not exactly the most reliable source, but this person asked the question, "What's the relationship between depression and nihilism?" And the last paragraph of his comment said, "A nihilist isn't necessarily depressed, but they had to have had some depression to become a nihilist. For many depressed people, nihilism can make them less depressed. They do not feel responsible for the unpleasant realities of life." Schopenhauer said, "We have no free will, and a man is not born to be happy. It's a cruel world, but it isn't our fault." Um, I guess that's sort of
Hmm.
that sounds like a bit of a pessimistic way of going of answering the question that I just asked. but
Yeah.
but
Well, because there is that other side. There is
there
there is that side of someone will think that way. Someone will have a very pessimistic view of life in the first place,
yeah yeah mhm
and like as I've learned about this stuff, again, just through like my experience and listening to other podcasts or YouTubers or any other kind of person talk about it. Um, the dangerous and scary part of being nihilistic is, in my opinion, is the fact that life is kind of a constant reminder that it's okay to be that way.
yeah
In a very like as I'm not very negative of a human being anymore, but life will keep giving you reasons to feel upset and
yeah
keep giving you reasons to feel beaten down. And you know, someone reached out to me not too long ago and explained the story of their last 4 years in a very brief summary, and that plays on everything. You can have a good routine set up, you can have a good um, diet, you can have a good life in general, and something something will hit you so hard that it shakes all of that down to its foundation, and you're left just in a pile. You're left sort of, the rubble of it all, and it's just another reason why feeling angry at the world, feeling nihilistic at the world, or having the nihilistic view is so easy. It's very, very attractive when if all you know is just getting beat down.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very easy way to look at life, and it's a very justifiable way to look at life in that in that sense. I mean, if that's all you know, someone else, like how do you see the world in a different view?
Yeah,
Like how do you ever see the world through a different lens if that's all you see?
exactly. You know,
And that's what I mean. It's one of those things that's to get out of it is also it's a very hot, because at the end of the day, if you want to get away from nihilism, if you want to get away from feeling like life is meaningless or believing life is meaningless, morals are a waste of time and religion is a waste of time. Um, to get out of that mindset is to then go against that. You had to take responsibility for your life,
yeah, and
regardless.
I mean, I was gonna say it starts with you. You know, if you want,
Exactly.
like you said, if you want to get, uh, like the story, like kind of like a snippet of what you were going through, Jay. Like you became a nihilistic, and then you started seeing the beauty of living life, and then you turned your life around, and you're right here, right now. You're doing big things, and you know, and that's good. It's like it's not like people aren't capable of it. It's just it's some people can do it, some people have a harder time struggling to get out of that mindset. But it is possible, I think.
Some
Oh
people
yeah.
just want to cope with being okay instead of coping with the fact that they could be better.
Hmm.
We all could be better too. So
Everyone can be better. You can be better every day. Every single day is a chance to get better. Every
Yeah.
time that you go to bed and wake up again is a day to just work on yourself and get better.
hmm
So
Yeah.
like you can never stop getting better.
exactly.
No. But again, again, that's the scary part of nihilism is, you could do anything you want, and I don't mean to sound like someone that's nihilistic is necessarily like detached from the world mentally. Like, oh, like if I go and do something super bad, that why would ever be like why would anybody be upset? Nothing matters. I'm not saying that nihilistic people are in that boat necessarily,
Yeah.
but you go to work and you do really well, or someone could look at you going to work and seeing you do very well and be happy for you, and you just say, "Yeah, I don't care. It's just, well, who cares? Nothing matters." Like that's the thing. If you like to get to the point where if you to try and change your mind, it starts with taking that step and you know well, I was gonna say make everything matter, but I guess if you're taking steps to get there, you have to start slow.
Yeah.
I didn't so much just say, you know what, everything matters, and I'm gonna try my best every single day. I had to make small little changes to the things that I was doing so I could eventually get to where I am now. And I think that it's very hard to get out of that mindset. It there's you have it's essentially going from a life of very low event, very low meaning. So it's essentially you're never disappointed, you're never really let down, you're never really um, too upset with things because hey, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
hmm
I'll be dead in 100 years, no one will remember my name. So what's the sense of getting upset with anything?
And I think because they're so focused on the future instead of focusing on now, like what's
Mhm.
important now. And that's
Well,
that.
that's the beautiful excuse, right?
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, well, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter. And it's like, well, yeah, but it does. Like, yeah, we all die eventually, but you're still alive right now. Focus on yourself now. Focus on now. Now's important. What
Mhm.
happens, the future is unknown, and yeah, it could be scary or it could be exciting, but that's the thing, we don't know. But we shape our own future, and it starts with how it's how we shape your future starts with how you shape now.
How
Mhm.
you shape your mind and everything as well too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and that's there's a lot of work to be done in that sense. I mean, take away the idea of just being nihilistic and just add on depression, let's say, where you want to become better and you know that life has beauty in it, life has meaning in it. Um, I feel like that's like those are obviously two different things, I guess. Maybe like that reference or Eddie, your reference, the second reference you made is there could be a person that is no longer depressed, but in that it came nihilism.
Hmm.
You could switch it around. I mean, to be nihilistic and depressed, or sorry, to be depressed without being nihilistic anymore. I mean, that's a step. As shitty as that sounds.
I mean, because at least now you found that life isn't meaningless. It's just,
Yeah, it's just really, really fucking hard,
yeah.
and
It's just
you
really
get
shit.
yeah. I heard a quote. Or I know, or actually, I was going to say I know a quote, and I'm going to fuck the quote up, so I'm going to paraphrase this quote. But
Okay.
it's essentially like aim so low. Basically, it's like aim so low that the basics of existing is a step up, and start from there.
Yo, I know the one you're talking about, and now it's just replaying in my head.
Yeah, and I remember hearing that for the first time, and I was just like, and this was well into my own progression in life. It wasn't when I was at my very lowest, but I just remember hearing that, and I think that makes a lot of sense because I feel like people will get too afraid of taking that step away from nihilism. Like if someone's trying to find the meaning in their life, because I don't think that if you're nihilistic, you're stuck. I mean, Eddie, you're an example of that. Myself, I don't know, Dryden, if you've ever had that nihilistic only outlook, but if the case is that you
In a
were,
way.
yeah, well, even then, in a way, you're not anymore. Meaning, I don't think that if you are nihilistic forever.
Oh
So I
no,
think
no.
that, yeah. So I think that, like I said, even if you go from nihilism to depression, you literally looked as low as you could for your first step, and that's still a good thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
that does sound so bad. It
Oh
sounds
yeah,
horrible. But
it's
like you're
not pretty.
completely and utterly right.
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest thing for me when I had to get, or not had to, when I chose to take control of my life, where it was, I remember just the fact that I was like, hey, this was like with a couple of friends, I was just like, hey, like, I want to have a good day today.
Yeah.
And it's very blanket, it's very vague. That could mean very little, but for me at the time, having just a good day beat the shit out of having the days that I was having.
Yeah.
Like it beat the shit out of that, and that's the thing where if you're aiming so low that a very general good day. I mean, not to dismiss a good day. Like everybody wants just good days, but I mean in the sense of where I don't feel like shit, or I don't feel as shitty as I did yesterday, or I want to feel like shit today because I just want to feel something.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I think that was a big thing about me being nihilistic, where nothing mattered. I don't care about anything. Was I didn't feel anything. I was starting to lose not literal sense of feel, but emotionally, I didn't feel anything. So for me to feel like shit was a step up.
And a step is a step. Like I said
Mhm.
before, when we did that test episode, uh, I think I said so. It's like,
We release that one day, and we're working on it.
what?
Oh, I was just a disclaimer to the fans or anybody listening. Eventually, we will release that
Oh,
episode.
true.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was, but uh, just like as I said before, it's like I think I said something like, um, even small progress is big progress because it doesn't matter like how little progress is. Like progress is still progress. Small
Mhm.
progress is big progress because you made
Mhm.
progress nonetheless. Like you said,
Yeah.
like you said before, like you're depressed and nihilistic. Well, you're not nihilistic anymore. You're just depressed. Well, hey, okay, that's a step. That's a step.
Hey, man,
Yeah,
you're still going up the ladder. Whether
yeah.
it's like one step or five, you got up there some way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a step. It's progress, and that progress is big. Now you just need to work on yourself more and dig yourself out of that hole, and you'll find that there's much more to life. That's,
Yeah.
progress is progress.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Or sorry, to go back on it, I think people might be afraid of the thought of, if you're already feeling depressed and nihilistic, but you want to get out of those two things, taking a
Mm,
step might seem like the scariest thing you can do because
absolutely, yeah.
it's not like the idea of, if I'm going to take a step to get better and I don't feel better, if you don't even know what feeling better means or feels like, when you take a first step and you don't feel better, you think you fail.
Mm,
And that's the danger of it. Again, speaking for myself, and I do a lot of that because I speak a lot. Um, coming from my own experience, that was the case. I remember the first couple of weeks, um, after I went and saw us, like went and seen, or went to get help, I should say. Um, Within 2 weeks, I was back to where I was, and I had to go back. I had to go back and get more help. I thought I was good, and it just didn't work out that way. And that's the thing. If when you're in that mindset of being defeated already and nothing matters, and what's the fucking point in trying?
yeah.
Because every time I try, it just doesn't work. Again, it's a very scary thought. I could come to you, or I could go to someone and know that they're trying to get better, and be like, yeah, it's gonna take a long time and a lot of work, to feel some kind of consistency and some kind of progress. That could be the scariest thing someone hears.
Yeah.
Like, it took me, again, like I said, I went and got help. I was back where I started in 2 weeks. So,
Yeah.
and and that's the unfortunate part. So I think that when it comes to these things, it's a very appealing thing to be nihilistic. If you're always beaten down,
Right.
you take away depression, you could just have a lot of losses in your life, and you're just only used to the losses in your life. Where it comes to like literally losing somebody, or I tried to do this and I failed, or I was trying to help somebody, it backfired in my face, or something like that, and you just
Mm,
continuously feel stuff like that, and you put a lot of effort into yourself, and you get nothing in return, or you get taken advantage of, or all these things. A A all the way through Z, or Z down where you're from.
yeah.
If these are the things that keep happening, the belief of nihilism is very, very appealing.
Yeah.
And to me, like, the scary thing, another scary thing about that is, I remember the kind of hypocrisy that came along with that ideal, or I guess that idea, being in a relationship at the time and being nihilistic. How are you in a relationship while being nihilistic?
Yeah.
Isn't that hypocrisy? Isn't that very hypocritical too? And I know if anybody's listening and that's the situation they are in, that might sound a little bit of offensive, but if nothing matters, you can't be too mad.
I mean, if you think nothing matters, like you said, Jay, or rather, like you pointed out, what's
Mhm.
the point of actually having a relationship if you didn't think anything matters? It's like, well, you know, you could have been alone. You could have just went by. You could have just been by yourself for however long. But you're in
Yeah.
a, but you're in a relationship and you're nihilistic. So clear, or maybe your nihilism is starting to slip because you found someone and you want, you know, maybe you want to be with them. Maybe that's the beginning of the turning point, or something
Well,
like that.
yeah. Well, I think that's the case, or I think that was very much the case. I think for me personally, it was very much a, um, I wanted to care, but I had no way to, or
Okay.
sorry, how do I structure? I'm trying to put this into the proper words. I was nihilistic because of where I came from, and being in a relationship gave me the idea that I could be happy.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't get a hold of myself until it was too late in that situation, which was also kind of a wake up call.
Mm.
It showed me that I could have emotions for other people. Obviously, like I have and I had and have family and friends. But to really care for another human being was it was an eye opener. It's like, okay, I could do this. I could feel. And then when it came time to put the work in, it's like, all right, I could give effort.
Yeah.
When it came to, again, at the time I stopped drinking for a little bit and I lost a little bit of weight. It's like, okay, there's progress. Again, gradually over time it came with its failures, but I think for me it was very much the ending of that nihilistic mindset, because as much as I didn't care about much, being hypocritical seemed very backwards. It just didn't fit for me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've ever been in that situation, because, like you said, when you were younger, you started to feel that nihilism creep up. Um,
Yeah.
or if it did, or sorry, if it didn't just creep up, but it really took over. Did you ever have any kind of like moments of like clarity where it's like, well, if I'm really nihilistic, why am I doing this? Or why am I doing that?
I guess. Well, I still wanted to pass school. I didn't want to fail. So I guess maybe it's not like it took over and I was starting to come to my senses. I wasn't 100% nihilistic. I just
Yeah.
because I still had ambitions. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to pass high school. Uh,
Hmm.
like that sounds stupid, but I wanted to play in the NHL, but I didn't because I suck at hockey. But that's but
I
um
disagree.
yeah, well, but I think yeah, there were some moments of clarity where get a good grade, or I realized that I had friends in school. It's like I wasn't alone. It's like, you know what, maybe there is more to life. Um, there were some moments where I would go back into that nihilistic state, but then as you get older, when we're young, we're very, very emotional. But the older we get, we start to wise up. Um,
Yeah.
and
Kind
it,
of get a little bit of a
I hope.
perspective on things.
and it all depends, I guess, on like what experiences you go through, like what happens to you. For me, um, for me, transferring to private school after 3 years of public high school kind of helped because I wasn't in that special not special needs, but special help, special help for education. Where I went to that private school, I was just a normal kid, so I'm just like, okay, this is a fresh start. Um, and I guess like I really wanted to do my best, and I guess that is where I got full clarity that yes, there is meaning to life. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
How about you, Dryden? Have you, like, maybe even if it's not so much specifically on the nihilistic end, but maybe a combination of that with depression and or any other kind of emotion, have you had, or have you ever experienced that type of clarity where it's just like, maybe you're not so much calling yourself out on your own bullshit, but you're understanding that there's a little bit of a different way of going about thinking about things because of
Yeah.
the way you are doing it.
Well, like thinking about it, like I was sitting here thinking about it the whole time, and one thing just kind of popped in my head. Like I guess it was nihilistic when I was way younger, without really noticing it, because I was a kid.
Yeah.
And like I just literally hated everybody and everything. Like I was getting bullied every day. There was no point of going to school at that point. Teachers literally would kick me out of class because I was a loud, rambunctious kid with ADHD. So
Yeah.
like nobody wanted me around because I'm just basically a loudmouth, don't give a fuck type guy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then like so I was just like done with everything. And then there was just this one day that like I was just so pissed at the world. Like I was done with everything. And then I went outside and there was this cat just sitting inside like the apartment I was living at. And it was like this winter, like a cold winter day. I think it was like -30 or something like that. It was cold. And like I felt alone, and the cat, I just looked and I was like, that cat's alone, and I just sat by that cat and skipped school. And just
There
like
you go.
felt like there was something to like live with if this cat's trying to survive the cold. which is like kind of sad that I use the cat to kind of like fix my things. But you know, a cat helped me. A homeless cat saved me.
Mhm.
Hey man, that's it just goes to show that some of the simplest ways of um seeing other things live. I mean, literally, this cat is fighting for its life, and I think at the end of the day, that's what the cat would want. It's like, yo, I just need a little bit of warmth, maybe a little bit of food and some water, and I'll be happy. And those are very small little things, but it
Dude,
might
every
give you a
day I'd
little.
feed it. Every day I'd bring it down food because it was there for about 2 weeks before my mom would finally let me take the cat in. And
Yeah,
of me literally bringing the cat into my house, feeding it, giving it water, and then putting it
yeah.
back outside before she'd notice.
Hey, I mean, well, and that's what I mean, man. Like those types of things where it's like it doesn't take this huge, big epiphany to happen or hit you across the face to be like, you know what, I gotta change my ways, or you know what, things aren't as bad as they are. Could be as something as a cat just needing a bit of help to get through the day, and then you're like, you know what, this is what I actually like. This means something.
Mm.
You just
It's
kind
not
of get
like,
that like fuck it mentality, and you're like, this life is great in a way, just like for this snippet of what it is.
yeah, and then hopefully eventually little bits of thing, or I was gonna say little bits of things like that. Very not very convoluted. Little things like that will keep it happening, and then you start structuring your life in different ways, and the whole point is to be like happy and healthy. And I assume people that are nihilistic will be like, well, life's good this way, or I don't even know how you'd even phrase it. If you think nothing matters, then I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do you phrase life being good if it doesn't matter? Doesn't really work that way. Doesn't sound like
And
it works that way.
and nothing else matters. Sorry,
It
I'm just
It's
got
a great song.
just got
Thank you.
Metallica in my
is
head.
such a great song.
I wonder if
It's beautiful.
nihilism had anything to do with that song actually from Metallica. I doubt it, but
That song was
Curiosity.
about a girl.
okay, I was so fucking yeah,
It was
that's
literally like the tag of nothing else matters was them being together, and in those moments of them being together, nothing else mattered because it was just them two.
all right. So yeah, it had nothing to do with nihilism. Sorry about that.
Yeah. No, I mean like without context, it could literally sound like nothing else matters.
It
Yeah,
does. No,
fuck
yeah,
it.
yeah. That was my point. It kind of sounds like that. I kind of put two and two together.
Yeah.
uh,
Well, yeah. I mean, I think I watched a documentary on the making of the Black album, and it was literally like I think Bob Rock, the producer, asked him about it. Or no, no, never mind. James in that documentary lied about the song meaning.
mm,
Bob Rock asked him what the song was about, and he was saying his buddies, and when they're together, nothing matters because we're Metallica, we're taking the world on.
right.
Um, they were on what's his name? Who's the famous radio, like the first famous radio, or not, Howard Stern.
Howard Stern. Yeah.
Um, yeah, they were on Howard Stern years later, and he actually articulated it very well because he's seen that clip and he asked James about it, and he's just like, maybe you're a little bit too afraid to say that it was specifically about Lars because those two are the creative monsters behind Metallica.
Yeah.
And he said he said as life went on, it started to become that. But at the time, it was for a girl. But he was too afraid to open up emotionally to the world, so he lied about it and said it was about his band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So long answer to that, but yeah, that was the meaning behind the song. Where I guess in their relationship at the time, everything was meaningless without them two being together. Because when it was them, nothing mattered. Without her, nothing mattered.
Interesting. All right. Well, now we
I
know.
mean, hey, love's crazy like that sometimes. I guess.
I guess it is.
Yeah, but yeah, yeah. If anyone has any stories about themselves being either a still nihilistic, were nihilistic, or a combination of any of those, depressed, anything, let us know. send us a message, comment below wherever you're listening to. Let us know. It would be these episodes are very much an open discussion between the three of us. And then when it comes to specific topics about statistics, it's still very much open. But it's not only open to the three of us; it's open to everybody that's listening. So if anybody has anything to share, if anybody has any suggestions on anything to read about it, or again, if you have your own experiences, let us know in the comments. Hopefully, we see that we can get back to it. And yeah, I think again, we want this to be as open and of a conversation, or I guess platform, forum, whatever, for everybody. So
Yeah.
just leave us a message. Dryden, let the people know where they could find you.
Hey, if you guys want to find me, go over to my Instagram. I have a link tree on there for any kind of content you guys want to see. Not literally. Um, if you guys want to see my Twitch or you guys want to see some YouTube clips from Twitch content that I've made from when I streamed, it's all going to be on my Instagram at DRYDENXOUIMET.
There you go, Eddie. If you got anything going on, let the people know. And if they want to get a hold of you too, let the people know.
I have two YouTube channels you can find me at. My first YouTube channel is Mask Animations. That's where I make a lot of animations. Obviously, I mean that's kind of self-explanatory in the name, but um, bunch of fictional narrative content that I like to make. A lot of short films that I've made that you can see. I have one in the works right now. The link for that will be in the description. My other channel is basically just I guess like a clip dump, just a bunch of edits I've made. Also, live stream highlights from when I stream on Twitch. Speaking of which, you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/mask MASK 9691. And yeah, those are pretty much again, we're all of our contact information is going to be in the link, or rather where our links where you can find us is all going to be in the description of the videos, so um, you can find us all there.
Perfect. Yeah. Mine will be down there. King Kitty 84 on Instagram. I'm not the most active social media person, but I might have a few things that I'm going to be starting soon. Information on that will be available at a later date. But for now, guys, thanks for listening. We're going to try and keep this to a once a week thing, same schedule, hopefully done Tuesday night, up by Wednesday. So again, just keep your eye out for that stuff. But until then, we'll see you later.